Averroes, and hopefully it will prepare the ground for, a more hospitable appreciation and appropriation of the scientific approach to the world, the scientific paradigm. The Islamic world, failed to compete with the rise of the West. And the way I would put it is that in the West, the two major events were the rise of capitalism and the scientific revolution. And the combination of those two, where capital had a stake in science, and science had a stake in capital, and the amalgam that emerged is, I think, the prime mover of Western rise and dominance.
In the last 3 centuries, the West has been considerably more successful economically, scientifically, politically than the Muslim world. And yet we forget that Western Europeans also benefited from one colossal slice of luck. It was from here in Seville that in 1492 Christopher Columbus sailed out down the Guadalquivir. Where did he think he was going? My friends, he was not going to America. You have to remember the geopolitics of the time. The centuries-old arm wrestle between Christianity and Islam about the shores of the Mediterranean. This is 1492. Granada has finally been recaptured. It's the end of Moorish Spain, and yet in the Holy Land, the Muslims are still in charge, and Muslim powers increasingly dominate the trade routes to the east. In Columbus's imagination, there's only one thing for it. As he tells his patrons, Ferdinand and Isabella, he's going to find the semi-mythical pro-Christian Grand Khan of Cathay. He's going to forge a new alliance in the east against the sect of Muhammad and all idolatries and heresies. And he's going to use all the gold he can find to recapture Jerusalem. There's no getting around it. If you read the stated ambitions of the Admiral himself, Christopher Columbus was a crusader. There is a great deal of received wisdom as to why the West rose and the Muslim world stagnated. On the one side, there was the rise of the bourgeoisie, banking, democracy, female emancipation, and secularism. And on the other, there was political sclerosis and a fatal religious conservatism. But we should not minimize the huge economic impact of the New World gold and silver which Columbus brought back here to the Golden Tower, Seville. When they consider these reversals of history, with the West now dominant, it's no wonder that some Muslims are apt to engage in anguished soul-searching.
There is a lot of self-pity involved in this, and this is complicated by the fact that our own self-image is of conquerors, history makers, pace setters, and so on. At the same time, when you look at the surrounding realities, you see that the Muslim world is very much on the margin of contemporary history, modern history, and so on. And the clash of this image of yourself with the reality creates politics of resentment and dangerous political actions instead of systematically thought out responses to the world, and so on.
What's the way out of this, Sadiq? Do you think that the Islamicists can win?
No, I don't think so. No way. The reason why they are fighting so hard and so fiercely is because, at least for the last 150 years, they have a strong sense that Islam has been receding, at least in the control of the public sphere of practically every Muslim country. Control of the army, of the education system, of the media, and so on, has completely gone out of their hands. If they continue losing like that, then what would prevent Islam from becoming as ethereal, as inconsequential, unimportant as Christianity has become in Europe.
Some Muslims are unquestionably angered and alarmed at the idea that Islam could wither away, superseded by globalization and the temptations of secularism. On the other hand, some Muslims are perfectly ready to welcome democracy. They just don't want any lessons from the West.
What do you think we mean by democracy, by the way?
Do you guys know what you mean by democracy?
Well,
Just use the word.
well, we mean universal suffrage, people being able to vote for governments they want and then being able to kick out
I don't know if that's what you mean by democracy.
That's what I mean.
When I say you, I don't mean you, but
Well, Johnson,
the
that's
West.
what I mean.
I don't know what the West means by democracy.
democracy.
Like, for example,
Hypocrisy.
take the elections that happened in Palestine. You know,
Yes.
they wanted us to vote. We voted.
We voted, we couldn't respect our vote.
Exactly. So let's not discuss democracy.
No. No, that's a very good point.
I would love to see the Arab world becoming a very democratic world, but it's very problematic when the West tries to impose. And maybe it's because of our previous experiences with the West, because of the Crusades. The trust is just not there. And this is a problem, actually. When the US says we want to impose democracy, everyone just refuses it. Even if people believe in democracy here and it's an idea coming from the West, they go against it.
This is not Europe. We are not so advanced as you now. And you know that in the Middle Ages you suffered much more severe things until you reached your present status. We need many reformations on many levels. First of all, the political one. We are suffering too much politically, you know.
How did we get to the point where two great civilizations, Christian and Muslim, are so divided and so unequal? Now we have this thing called the clash of civilizations, in which Western polemicists say the Muslims have to snap out of their medieval mindset. Muslims take great offense at anything that could be construed as an insult to their religion. And yet, when you look around this city we're in today, Cairo, place of 20 million people, some of them living in unimaginable poverty, you realize it's not just religion, it's the economy. Stupid, these people can see with their satellite dishes all the prosperity from which they feel excluded, and that sense of exclusion and resentment can be channeled into religious resentment as well. It's not the religious differences that are themselves the causes of violence. It's the manipulation of those differences by clerics and politicians who should know better. I don't think we're going to sort out the competing claims of Islam or Christianity to be the superior monotheism, but I do confidently predict that there will come a time when the doctrinal differences between Islam and Christianity will again seem irrelevant. And if that happens, then we can begin the process of abandoning stereotypes, dropping mutual incomprehension, learn each other's languages, and rediscovering a mutual respect and interest in each other's religions. And what feels now like the clash of civilizations will turn out to have been the birth pangs of a single, tolerant global civilization of which we saw the first inklings, however imperfect, in the unity of the ancient Mediterranean world or medieval Cordoba. If we really don't have the wit to escape from history, then let's at least try and relive the good bits.